The chamber fell silent as Ambassador Alyssa Chen walked through the crystalline doors of the Galactic Council's emergency summit. Her boots echoed against the polished floor, a sound that seemed to unnerve the assembled delegates more than any weapon could. Behind her, Commander Braden Torres stood at attention, his hand resting casually on his sidearm, a gesture that made several council members flinch. Alyssa had been to this chamber before, 3 years ago, when humanity had first petitioned for membership. She remembered how they had laughed. The Kralix delegate had called humans adorable primitives. The Veltorian representative had suggested humanity might make excellent servants for the more civilized species. And the council chairman himself had dismissed Earth's application with a wave of his six-fingered hand, declaring that humanity would need at least another millennium before they could even comprehend galactic politics. That was before the Kralix Empire had decided humanity's home system would make an excellent resource extraction point. Before they had sent their fleet to Terra with demands of unconditional surrender. Before they had made the catastrophic mistake of bombing Sydney, Tokyo, and New Delhi in their opening salvo. Ambassador Chun, the chairman began, his translator rendering his warbling voice into perfect English. "We are pleased you answered our summons." Alyssa smiled, though there was no warmth in it. "You mean your distress call? Your plea for help?" She walked slowly toward the central platform, her eyes sweeping across the assembled representatives. 3 years ago, you wouldn't even let me stand where I'm standing now." The Veltorian delegate shifted uncomfortably in his suspension pod. "Ambassador, please understand." "No," Braden's voice cut through the chamber like a blade. "You understand. You had your chance to talk 3 years ago. Then you had another chance when the Kralix attacked us. We sent you footage of the bombings. We showed you the civilian casualties. 3 billion dead in the first week. We thought," the chairman started. "You thought humanity would fall," Alyssa finished. "You thought we'd be enslaved or exterminated, and you could continue your comfortable existence, pretending you lived in a civilized galaxy governed by laws and principles." She reached the central platform and placed both hands on the railing. "You were wrong." The holographic display above the platform flickered to life, showing the Kralix home system. Except it wasn't how the council remembered it. Where once stood a thriving empire of 12 worlds, now only debris fields remained. Orbital stations, once proud monuments to Kralix military might, tumbled through space as lifeless hulks. "By the ancients," someone whispered. "It took us 6 months," Alyssa continued, her voice steady and cold. 6 months to mobilize, adapt, and evolve. You see, the Kralix made an assumption about humanity. They assumed that because we hadn't developed faster than light travel until recently, we must be technologically inferior. Braden activated his wrist display, and more images flooded the chamber. Human warships, sleek, deadly vessels that made the Council's defensive fleet look like museum pieces. They didn't account for human innovation. They didn't understand that we've spent our entire existence fighting each other, refining the art of war across 10,000 years of conflict. "When you're born on a death world," Alyssa said, "where everything from the bacteria to the weather tries to kill you, you learn to adapt. You learn to overcome." The Kralix thought they were hunting prey. They didn't realize they had awakened predators. The chairman's skin had turned a sickly pale hue. "Ambassador Chun, we called you here to discuss peace terms." "Peace?" Alyssa's laugh was sharp and bitter. "You want to discuss peace? Where were your peace terms when human children were being vaporized? Where was the Council's intervention? We couldn't interfere in a conflict between couldn't or wouldn't." Braden challenged. "We have the communications. We know the Kralix offered you favorable trade agreements to stay neutral. We know the Veltorians were promised human colony worlds after our inevitable defeat." Silence crashed over the chamber like a physical force. "So here's what's going to happen," Alyssa said, her voice dropping to barely above a whisper, forcing everyone to strain to hear. "The Kralix Empire no longer exists. Their military has been dismantled. Their government has unconditionally surrendered. We've established humanitarian zones on their remaining colonies and are working with their civilians to build a new society, one that doesn't believe conquest is its birthright." "And the Council?" the chairman asked, his voice trembling. "The Council is going to reform," Braden stated flatly. "No more unanimous decisions that allow bullies to operate with impunity. No more secret trade deals that put profit over lives. No more dismissing species because you find them inconvenient. Alyssa pulled out a data crystal and placed it on the platform. These are humanity's terms. Non-negotiable. You have 48 hours to review and accept them. If you refuse, she let the silence stretch. What will you do? The Veltorian delegate asked, his voice barely audible. Alyssa met his eyes, and he saw something there that made his blood run cold. Not anger, not hatred, but something far worse. Certainty. Then humanity will establish its own council, and species will have to choose which one they want to be part of. Given what we've accomplished in 3 years, I suspect many will find us more appealing than an institution that sat back and watched genocide. She turned to leave, Braden falling into step beside her. Ambassador, the chairman called out desperately. Surely we can. Alyssa stopped and looked back over her shoulder. 3 years ago, all we wanted was a seat at the table. A voice in galactic affairs. Basic recognition that we mattered. Her eyes swept across every delegate in the chamber. You laughed at us. The Kraliks tried to exterminate us. Now you beg us for mercy. Are you going to give it? Someone asked. Alyssa considered the question for a long moment. Yes, she finally said. Because unlike you, we actually believe in the principles you claim to uphold. But mercy isn't the same as forgetting. Humanity will never forget who stood with us and who stood aside. As they walked out of the chamber, Braden glanced at Alyssa. Think they'll accept the terms? They will, Alyssa replied. They don't have a choice. Not anymore. Behind them, the Galactic Council sat in stunned silence, finally understanding the truth. Humanity hadn't just won a war. They had rewritten the rules of the galaxy itself. And there was no going back. The age of humanity had begun.